Come join us while we leave Wicklow and make our way down to Arklow. A little bit of coastal hopping, if you like. We set off in the morning, not too early, 0800, into a well-risen sun. Looking back and saying bye to Wicklow, I can't help thinking it looks a lot nicer in the morning sun with some flat water outside than when we arrived in the bumpiness in the evening. There's not many white horses this morning at all. There is wind, and there is wind forecast. There's only about 10 knots at the moment, which is okay, should get us moving. But we've got a forecast of up to about 18 knots. So hopefully that we'll get a decent sail down there. I'm not going to bother putting the mainsail up. I'm just going to leave the foresail up. So she's pulling. So we're going. Round in Wicklow Head with its ominous tower sticking up there. We should have took a walk down there. It looks quite nice. And there we are going round the head. The wind's filled in just a little bit and we've got 5 knots just on the foresail. We will get a bit of tide help with us as well. So we'll leave Wicklow Head behind quite quickly, hopefully, and shoot our way down this coast. There's a little bit of a headland down there we've got to go round, and then I think that where we're going is more or less what we can see in the distance there. Well, I'll let you know when we get there. It's only about a 14-mile run, so it's going to be quite quickly before its duration's spent. And as you can see looking out the windows today, it's a completely different sea. Everything's nice and smooth out there. I know we are running though. Swallow don't mind running much and she can do it quite quickly. So as long as we don't bother putting the mainsail up, which will keep playing havoc with the auto helm, we'll just drag ourselves down by the foresail. And we've got 11 knots behind us, or that's the apparent 11. We've got 5 through the water, so we've got about 17, 18 knots, which is a nice pace to shove ourselves along at. And we should be there in just about 2 hours at this rate. You can see just how quick the land's passing us by. And there's not really any obstacles down this coast or much to worry about. So I think it'll be a very chilled passage. And that's my mug. My mate David just gave me that as a gift from his Ollie Bobs. Solar panels are just about putting in charge, but they're putting in charge and everything's running and the fridge is on. But the sun's not really on the panel, it's sort of sideways on it. But we're still getting plenty of power. Over 5 knots, which is okay. Don't forget we're getting a little bit of tide with us now. We've probably got half a knot of tide and we are running, so we'll just let the sea slip on by. Passing plenty of nice long beaches along the way. I'm sure they'd be full of holiday makers later on in the day, and even more so if the wind wasn't coming off the land. Pace is picking up over the ground a bit, and see these windmills. When we get to the last windmill we start working our way in. So that's how quick the passage will be, and that's how nice the sea is. A lovely, lovely morning for a very short passage. I think that's Mizzen Head over there, which is the point that sticks out along this way. So the bit that we could see clearly earlier on, that's it looking a little bit closer. I don't know what the square box is on it. Might have been something to do with the war, but I've never been to Mizzen Head, so I don't know. I've never been to the windmills either, but I'm sure they're supposed to be going round. There's plenty of wind, but they don't seem to be moving very quickly. That's not a good way to make the... Oh, he's going. And a couple of them are going. 50% of them are producing power. Typical. I suppose the curtain motion's responsible for that. Well, not far to go now. We've certainly put a lot of water underneath the keel very quickly coming down here, making use of a wind and a tide, both going in the same direction. Very, very useful. And wouldn't you know it, the wind starts getting a bit fluky and I'm having to change from port sheets to starboard sheets to port sheets to starboard sheets. That's a way to drive you mad for sure. And I think that's our destination, somewhere there in the Blair. I'm not sure where exactly it is yet, but it's along there somewhere. It'll become a little bit more evident in a minute, I'm sure. Well, according to the chart plotter, I can see it's right on the nose there, right on the end of my green arrow. Still got an 11 knots of wind behind us, 4.8, which is 5 over the ground, 11 and 5, 16 knots of wind behind us, keeping us moving along lovely. So we won't be long before we're there and in and safe and going around the town and getting some provisions. Well, you can make it all out quite clearly now if you follow that wall all the way along there, all the way along, keep following it. Oops, I've dropped the camera. Up again, just there you can see the tower on the end of the wall. So that's obviously the way in. There's a yellow can there, which I can't find on the chart. It's obviously marking an outfall or something. And as I make my way to the wall on the end, I notice the tide's trying to slide me past it a little bit. Always going to happen. Don't know what you're there for. But there's the entrance. So I just got to keep my eye on it, that I go in on a straight line now. Well, I'm going to crab in. Ferry glide. As we closed up on the harbour, which obviously I've sped up a little bit so that it doesn't take too long, it got a little bit bouncy. When the water were a bit lumpy and bouncing back off the sort of land area. And because it's a northeasterly, this entrance is open as well for the northeasterly to come in and keep you bobbing until you actually get well inside. And as you can see, we've only just calmed down now. I know what you're thinking. He never looks where he's going, this chap. Well, I do every now and then. We've decided anyway, as there's a slight ebb started, that we're going to face the ebb, and we know the pontoon's on the starboard side, so we'll put everything out on the starboard side. And we'll see if we can find a space along the way. Now, I have noticed there's a space on the end, so we'll go and have a look at that space on the end and see if it's at all usable to us. We might be back for that. Yeah, there's still room for us to get out. We'll get behind them, we would. We'll have a look further down. The chap with his boat moored on the end had asked us not to moor alongside him or behind him because he wanted to go early the next morning. Well, we'd thought we'll go down a pontoon and see if there's any more spaces then, because there actually was a space that we could fit on the end of, just about, I reckon, behind them, and especially if he decided to go forward a little bit. I think if I look along, there's a lot of wasted spaces with boats with plenty of areas in front and behind them that if you brought them up or down a little bit, you could possibly get another vessel or two in. But I'm sure they all arrive at different times and just take up whatever space they can do at the time. So we've decided there's not really any space here as we're coming to the end of the pontoon, and every time we think there's a gap which is big enough, there's normally a little boat hiding in it. So we're going to have to turn around and go back down and pick up that space that we first decided on along the way. And I hope our friend on the vessel on the end doesn't get too upset about it. Right, a quick U-turn. And we'll go back and do a take two, where I suppose we just should have stopped in the first place, because I reckon we could have got on the end. And he can easily get out if we're behind him in the morning without any problem whatsoever. I'm absolutely quite sure. So let's get ourselves tucked in here. Please just take that, give him that blue mid shoot. It's okay, take it up now as it comes in. So we're here, and this is what the visitors' berth actually looks like, or the visitors' marina berth looks like when your boat's only half tied on. But it doesn't matter, we're on, and we're not in anyone's way. There's a pile there behind us, but this never makes it to the pile, so there's still a bit more space. We're not in the way or anything, and he's got loads of room in front of him, so he can easily get out in the morning if we're staying here. Or at least that's what I think at this moment in time. But time changes everything, as you see. Later on that evening, as the sun's going down and it's a lovely, lovely day, there's still plenty of room, but somebody's jumped on the side of him. And just to make matters a little bit worse, somebody's jumped on the side of him. So everybody's going to be shaking around early in the morning come, I don't know what time he's going to get off. People are even berthing over there. So there's a shortage of a marina. Now that's a lovely boat, isn't it? They're a bit more space they need, a bit more legs on this marina berth. Maybe half a mile further so the boats can continue to moor. There's a boat up here. That's Mick's boat. Mick's just been down to say hello. Hello, Mick. Until next time, everyone. Bon voyage.